What makes a muscle car stand out from the rest? Is it the roar of the engine, the sleek bodywork, or the sheer power you feel behind the wheel? For decades, these machines have been more than just cars. They're symbols of freedom, speed, and American pride. Whether it's their impressive performance or the way they capture our imaginations, muscle cars have a special place in the hearts of car lovers everywhere. In this video, we're counting down the top 10 muscle cars of all time, exploring why these iconic machines continue to captivate enthusiasts. Let's jump right in. Let's talk about the Plymouth Roadrunner, one of the coolest muscle cars from 1968 to 1970. So, what made this car so special? Well, Plymouth had a genius idea. They made it affordable, with a starting price of just $3,000, which was a steal back then. But they didn't stop there. They threw in a fun twist by connecting it to the cartoon character, the Roadrunner, complete with its famous beep-beep horn. How's that for catching attention? Now, muscle cars are all about power, and the Roadrunner had plenty. The base model packed 383 horsepower. But if you wanted more, you could upgrade to options like the 6-pack, bumping it up to 390 horsepower, or go all out with the legendary 426 Hemi engine. This thing could fly, hitting a quarter mile in just 13.5 seconds and reaching speeds over 140 miles per hour. In 1969 alone, over 80,000 Roadrunners were sold. Collectors love the hardtop version, but if you're lucky enough to find a 1969 ragtop model, of which only 2,200 were ever made, you've got a real treasure. Next up is the 1970 Plymouth Superbird 440, a car that's hard to miss with its wild design and racing pedigree. Originally based on the Roadrunner, Plymouth took things up a notch with this one, and the result was a muscle car built to dominate the NASCAR track. Back in the day, NASCAR was the ultimate stage for muscle car power, and the Superbird was designed to meet its demanding requirements. Even if most owners never took it to the racetrack, just owning one felt like having a piece of racing history. Under the hood, the Superbird came with a 440 cubic inch V8 engine, delivering a solid 375 horsepower. But if you really wanted to boost the power, you could choose the 6-pack option or the famous 425 horsepower Hemi V8. That Hemi engine made the car even more desirable, and it's still one of the most sought-after versions by collectors today. Over the years, the Superbird's value has skyrocketed. A well-preserved model that might have cost $67,000 in the early 2000s could now fetch over $100,000 at auction. Not bad for a car that still turns heads decades later. Let's talk about the 1968 to 1969 Dodge Charger RT440, a car that's instantly recognizable, even to people who aren't car enthusiasts. This classic muscle car didn't just make a name for itself on the streets, it became a Hollywood legend. If you've ever seen The Dukes of Hazzard, you'll remember the iconic Charger, but it was the epic chase scene in Bullitt, where a black Charger went head-to-head with Steve McQueen that really cemented its place in movie history. More recently, the Fast and the Furious series reintroduced the Charger to a new generation, and it's easy to see why it still captures attention. With its bold Coke bottle shape, hidden headlights, and aggressive front grille, the Charger screamed power and rebellion. This was more than just a car. It was a symbol of danger and attitude. Back in 1968, you could get one for around $3,500. But today, with its iconic status and rarity, collectors are paying upwards of $170,000 for a well-preserved model. With 37,000 units sold in its first year, this car was built for performance on both the street and the drag strip, and it's still turning heads decades later. The Chevrolet Camaro, ZL1, Z28 and SS, coupe from 1967 to 1969, are nothing short of legends in the muscle car world. These cars defined what it meant to have raw power and unmatched style. Back in 1967, the Z28 was the go-to model for anyone looking to tear up the roads. With a 4.9-liter engine and a 4-speed manual transmission, this car was a racing machine through and through. It wasn't the easiest to handle for newcomers, but seasoned drivers knew they were in control of something special. That 290 horsepower V8 could take you down a quarter mile in 14.8 seconds. But the real heavyweight came in 1969 with the Camaro ZL1, one of the rarest and most powerful muscle cars ever built. With a monstrous 500 horsepower aluminum V8 engine, it could blast from 0 to 60 in just 5.3 seconds and run a quarter mile in 13.16 seconds. Only 69 of these cars were ever made, and they dominated the drag racing scene. Today, these Camaros have become collector's treasures, with prices skyrocketing from $18,000 in 2001 to over $90,000 today. Owning one is like owning a piece of muscle car history. In 1970, Buick decided to surprise everyone with the GSX, turning heads and leaving its mark on the muscle car scene. Taking the Buick Skylark, a mid-sized everyday car, and packing it with a massive 7.5-liter engine, they created a real powerhouse. The GSX was all about performance, boasting up to 400 horsepower depending on the upgrades. This wasn't just any car. It could run a quarter mile in 13.38 seconds, putting serious muscle on the road. The GSX came in two striking colors, Apollo White and Saturn Yellow, making sure it stood out in both style and performance. While the Grand Sport had been around since 1965, the 1970 GSX was the model that really made a splash. With its beefy engine and tough look, it quickly became a favorite among muscle car enthusiasts. It may have started as a sleeper, but once people saw what it could do, the GSX became unforgettable. The Plymouth Barracuda from 1970 to 1971 is a car that muscle enthusiasts still talk about today. What started as a modest model back in 1964 took some time to really catch fire. But by 1970, Plymouth had taken things up a notch with a 7.2-liter engine, pushing out 390 horsepower, making the Barracuda a serious contender in the muscle car world. Then came the legendary Hemi Cuda, equipped with a 7-liter Hemi engine that cranked out an impressive 425 horsepower. It wasn't just powerful, it was known for being a bit wild, thanks to its tricky handling and tendency to burn rubber without much effort. This car could hit 60 miles per hour in just 5.6 seconds, making it one of the fastest of its time. Because of its high price and rising insurance premiums, only a few hundred Hemi Cudas were ever made, with each one being unique in terms of color, trim, and transmission. Today, a well-maintained Barracuda can fetch over $2 million, especially the ultra-rare Hemi convertibles, of which only about a dozen were ever produced. Back in the mid-60s, Pontiac brought something special to the muscle car scene with the GTO, affectionately known as the GOAT. When it first arrived in 1964, it was a solid entry, but by 1965, it had truly made its mark. With a 6.3-liter V8 engine under the hood, this car could go from 0 to 60 in just about 6.1 seconds. It quickly became a favorite among the youth, thanks to its combination of affordability and raw power. One of its standout features was the bold split grille design, which gave it that unmistakable look. In 1967, Pontiac kicked things up a notch by boosting the engine and introducing the Ram Air option, raising the car's horsepower to 360. Even though only 751 of these Ram Air models were sold, the GTO's popularity never wavered. Then came the 1969 GTO Judge, a version that amped up the horsepower even further with a 6.5-liter engine and added luxury interior options. With exterior changes that refreshed its look, the GTO's reputation as a muscle car icon was cemented. Today, it's a prized collector's item, with its value jumping from $36,000 in 2001 to a staggering $200,000 today. In the late 1960s, few cars had the same impact as the Chevrolet Chevelle SS. This muscle car quickly became a symbol of power and style, with its sleek design and high-performance engine options. When the Chevelle SS hit the scene in 1966, it grabbed attention with its forward-thrusting fenders, red-line tires, and a blacked-out grille that gave it an unmistakable look. The 1966 SS 396 was a rare gem, with only about 100 models produced, making it a true collector's dream today. By 1969, Chevy upped the ante with the COPO 427, a special edition created because dealers just couldn't sell them fast enough. This version packed a 450 horsepower L7242 7 cubic inch V8 engine, giving it the power to back up its aggressive appearance. Then came the 1970 model, the last great SS, which featured a 7.4-liter engine that could hit 60 miles per hour in a flat 6 seconds. With its racing stripes and an upgraded interior, the 1970 Chevelle SS cemented its place as one of the most popular muscle cars of all time. The Shelby GT500 KR, or King of the Road, was an absolute game-changer in the world of muscle cars. With 360 horsepower roaring from its V8 engine, this car wasn't just fast, it dominated the streets. Originally priced at $64,000 back in 2001, the GT500 KR has seen its value skyrocket, with some rare models reaching an astounding $5.5 million. This wasn't just any car, it was a symbol of pure American muscle and performance. Collectors still revere this car for its rarity and unmatched style. The GT500 KR stands in a league of its own, holding a special place in automotive history as one of the most powerful and desirable muscle cars ever built. But Shelby didn't stop there. The 1964 Cobra 289 Roadster and the 1966 Shelby Cobra 427 SC added even more power to the legacy. The 427 SC was so fierce, with 480 horsepower, that it pushed the limits of what a car could handle. One version, specially ordered by Bill Cosby, was so powerful it became infamous, proving that the Shelby lineup is as legendary as it is wild. Muscle car enthusiasts know the Oldsmobile 442 from 1971 as one of the most iconic machines to hit the road. It had the perfect combination of power, style, and performance that made it stand out in the crowd. Originally just an option for the Cutlass, the 442 evolved into a model of its own, bringing serious horsepower with it. The 1971 L69 version was a real powerhouse, boasting a tri-power setup that pushed 360 horsepower. What made the 442 even more impressive was its ability to handle, thanks to upgraded springs that gave it an edge over other muscle cars of the time. It could blaze through a quarter mile in just 14.8 seconds, leaving a lasting impression on anyone who saw it in action. The ultra-rare W30 version, with its 365 horsepower and six-pack motor, is a collector's dream today, but it's the L69 that remains the most popular option. With prices reaching $85,000, it's a piece of muscle car history worth every penny. So there you have it, some of the most iconic muscle cars ever built, from the raw power of the Shelby GT500 KR to the sleek design of the Oldsmobile 442. Each of these machines left its mark on history, and their legacy lives on with enthusiasts today. If you enjoyed this countdown, make sure to hit the subscribe button to stay tuned for more automotive legends right here on CTA. Don't forget to like the video and share it with your fellow car lovers.